I mean, it feels like for everybody, whether it's the Indy guys or the Cup guys or just anyone, it feels like the conversation has been all or nothing. And I think maybe the big exception this weekend was Indy Next because it felt like they were getting comfortable running side by side, right? So there was a little bit of hope, but obviously we just did not see that at all for the big cars this weekend, both Saturday night and Sunday, which again is proving that track temp is not going to be a factor that's going to make that racing better at all. So unless we repave everything, I think it's going to be the exact same kind of, 250 lap conga line that we got last year. And really quickly, I want to mention the main issue of this, because it's not just the fact that you take grip out of the outside line or essentially make the inside lines that much superior. It's just, and I believe it was you, Ben, that mentioned this during testing before we actually went here, just how much that throws tire degradation out the window as a factor of the race. This new surface, so much easier on the tires, and what Kyle Kirkwood, what Kyle Kirkwood was mentioning, being one of the lone races where fuel is almost always going to go out before tires, and it's just focusing on babying the tires as much as possible.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Brandon, do you have any thoughts on the whole situation?
Yeah, I just think it is long overdue for Iowa to get a repave. It's up there where the season's affected so much. Like you look at Michigan and other places like that, they are not immune to the elements, and the grooves get really messed up there. And also, it was Rusty Wallace's baby back in 2006. This place has not been touched in a while, and so when the NASCAR Cup Series came to town, it was not a repave. It was kind of a manicure. They're kind of just setting the corners up in such a way that they get rid of the major bumps, which if you've ever played around on the iRacing scan of Iowa, you get those bumps into turn one. They can throw your car off, and it's much worse than an open wheel, I imagine. So, it's interesting that the relationship where these tracks are a part of the NASCAR circuit, and also with IndyCar. You look back at Las Vegas and how it was much flatter with IndyCar. Then all of a sudden NASCAR comes into play, and we want to up the banking and make it a little more Atlanta-like, so we can both coexist. And that eventually, unfortunately, led to some disastrous results in 2011 and pushed IndyCar out of the picture. So this is kind of that's a tangent, but in an inverse kind of way, this is Iowa, where IndyCar has been the main dog, and now here comes NASCAR settling in. I think it deserves a repave, and maybe for the safety of open wheel as well. It might improve the racing for NASCAR too.
No, 100%. I think independent of the Cup Series coming, or just NASCAR as a whole coming into the picture, I think a repave was on the agenda for this track in the next 2-3 years. I think what this did was expedite that process and kind of put Iowa in a position where they needed to obviously patch up some holes, but didn't maybe have the time or capital to do a complete repave. So I think it's the best thing for what you could do at the time, but this needs to be a step towards a full repave.